finally a strong female lead. Please clap for the latest Dungeons & Dragons Forgotten Realms novel by R.A.Salvatore. Oh my gosh. This guy is out of his mind. And this is getting viral. I helped make this go viral because D&D's official account posted it. It's getting savaged in the comments there as nobody wants a Drizzt dark elf drow replacement character that's a female. And this is it. What a terrible cover for Forgotten Realms too. I mean, it's just like, it's so the color scheme is just like very boring, and this doesn't work well in thumbnail. So I don't know what I'm going to use as a thumbnail. Maybe I'll use something like this. But my gosh, this is pretty wild. The finest edge of Twilight got announced in this novel, and he is replacing his character with a strong female lead, and that's intentional. As Dungeons & Dragons, if you don't know, has been fully immersed in identity politics, trying to remove white maleness from the equation for the last several years. Their new 2024 editions are just riddled with this type of virtue signaling and trying to push away from white males in the hobby, despite the fact that white males are still 90% of the hobby. They pretend it's not, but it is. You go to Gen Con or anything, any convention, who's playing? It's all white males, let's be honest. And they want to remove that. Now, R.A.Salvatore is a Trump-deranged leftist lunatic, and his whole comment, I mean, Drizzt is, and this whole deal is a stupid concept anyway. I mean, I liked it when I was a kid because I was edgy, right? And when you read these books, and I read the whole Crystal Shard and the like, and I read the Drizzt origin story and the like, and I liked them as a kid. As I look back upon them, the whole concept of it is this is an evil race, the Dark Elves, right? And they want to remove the idea of evil race now because they equate that to the real world, and naturally everybody equates evil race, at least in the lefts, to black people. I don't know why they are obsessed with, in their minds, equating dark elves and orcs and the like to black people. That seems to be their personal problems, but that's what they do. And so that's what this was all about, was saying you're not innately bad, even though, you know, he is innately bad. If you actually read those books, Drizzt is actually fighting his innate nature through them, and that's actually what makes them interesting and makes them fun reads. But the whole concept, the setting's silly, and it's actually just subversion of fantasy tropes as I look at it later. And actually, we need to unsubvert fantasy tropes even back further than that. We have to regress harder if we're going to take fantasy back and make fantasy great again. And that's what we're going to do here. So let's talk about his newest abomination and where he kind of gone off the rails all the way around with this stuff. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Join us. This is your real fantasy news. Nobody will talk about this. The other fantasy news channel, I think, is pretty shilly for the mainstream and everything. We don't do that here because I know what the mainstream is. It's this kind of cancer all the time. And I'm an independent author myself. I've been banned from the World Science Fiction Convention, banned from Kickstarter because they don't want to compete with me. And so I've got my new novel trilogy, which is a sci-fi trilogy, up on Fund My Comic, a crowdfunding site. They're not comics, they're full novels. And I've written this whole trilogy in advance because I want to bring back that sense of heroism again, a sense of wonder again. I want to remove the dark elements and regress harder. As you can see, I got a wonderful painter artist to do the covers here to give that and evoke that feeling of something that you get from DAW books or whatever back in like the 1970s, early 80s. You guys remember those days? Maybe not. But you might remember the covers from used bookstores. I'm trying to grab that because I developed a crew that's going and exploring space, giving the best of humanity. It's the sense of wonder. It's the heroism. That's what makes these genres great that's missing these days. So it starts here with the Soul Catcher. The second one's called The Safe Place. And the third one, Time Bomb. This is actually my time travel story. Very complicated and fun stuff. It's all available here, the full trilogy. And please grab it today. Hit the like and subscribe button, my friends, and support our efforts here because we're fighting against the mainstream industry, everything we got, and this is the one spot where we can fight back is actually making our own stuff, and I appreciate you guys for supporting us over the years. So I've written 20 plus novels and 13 graphic novels if you guys are new to the channel. So I do know what I'm doing here and know what I'm talking about. And going back to Salvatore, I just want to kind of just paint where he's at. So this is from earlier this year where R.A.Salvatore and Tracy Hickman lost their minds to Trump derangement. And, of course, here's the Dark F Trilogy Collector's Edition from back in the day. And here it is, back in February. He said, "Never did I imagine the speed of this post-World War II shift in world order. The price of eggs was the price of democracy, I guess. The new alliance of nations will not include the USA." So this is interesting, and always unpacking this type of thing. They're insane because you look at it and you go, wait a minute, Trump got elected, like voting. What do you mean the price of democracy? Like it was a voting election, okay? But we're going to lose democracy if you vote the way we don't like. It's like, are you insane? That doesn't make any sense. That is democracy. You just don't like the way that democracy turned out, is really what it came out. And this whole new alliance of nations, not including the USA. Obviously we've seen since this point, Trump has created world peace with Israel and Palestine. Done a great job there. Just brought the Argentinian leader to the White House yesterday. We have, of course, had great relations with El Salvador as well. So we're building a wonderful allyships that are going fantastic, and the USA is at the lead. So this is all nonsense. But if you go to his feed, this is all he does, right, is just rant, Trump. So why would Trump shut down EV chargers at federal buildings, 800,000 of them paid for by taxpayers? Government EVs, which we paid for, are far cheaper to operate and are reportedly being sold off as just spite and winks to oil companies. None of this is for us. He doesn't source any of the material for this, by the way. Don't even know that that's happening. And then he is with Elon Musk putting this out here because misinformation is the enemy. Now, remember, this guy just said that democracy was lost because of an election. You want to talk about misinformation? Here it is, and they say Doge did not find a shred of fraud in the government, which is absolute BS. Now, Tracy Hickman from Dragonlance was doing the exact same things and actually quote tweeting R.A.Salvatore, "Thousands of careers destroyed, vital research halted for cancer, our national park treasures closed, assistance for most vulnerable citizens," and he ranted about this here. And again, so if you go to his Facebook feed, you'd almost not even know he writes fantasy books. It's all just rants about Trump's over and over and over and over again. And that's what these guys do full-time now. Now, he's been like this even before. He was going off, of course, in the 2016 era about fascism and everything like that. And then he decided to take his character, Drizzt, in 2021, and he wanted to, quote, correct racist tropes. Now, if you notice, like the dark elf here actually has light skin. D&D replaced dark elves, which had dark skin in the original books. Here's what they used to look like here. They were dark elves. Get it? Dark. They were like blue with black because they blended in the shadows. Made a lot of sense. This doesn't make any sense. Now they're just like kind of like pale purple people. And they did this intentionally because they didn't want them to feel like black people. And I'm dead serious. It's so painful listening to these people act like this, but this is what they do. So he was going off back then, saying, other hand, if the drow are being portrayed as evil, that's a trope that has to go away. To be buried under the deepest pit and never brought out again. I was unaware of that. I admit it. I was oblivious. You wrote it. Like, the drow were evil, and Drizzt was bucking the evil because they were evil. That was the whole point of this trilogy, is you can stand up against the biggest odds, even against your own nature, if you like really have right on your side. So it's crazy, but that's what it was. Now that's it. Now the drow are split into three types: the familiar Uda drow of I can't pronounce this stuff. Menzoberranzan. You can make fun of me in the description in the comments. The Arctic theme Avon drow and the jungle theme Loran drow. Salvatore's new novel Starlight Enclave helps expand the drow's role in the narrative. In 2020, Wizards of the Coast made a public statement about how they'd be treating the drow and orcs going forward. Throughout the 50-year history of D&D, some of the peoples in the games, they're monsters. Orcs and drow being two prime examples, have been characterized as monstrous and evil. Yes, they're not. That's what their whole intention of them is. Wizards of the Coast, using descriptions that are painfully reminiscent of how real-world ethnic groups have been and continue to be denigrated. Now, again, this is just about black people. They think that orcs are black people. This is it's all in their heads. You're not thinking this. You're thinking orcs are orcs. You're thinking it's fantasy. These people can't separate fantasy from reality, and that's the whole problem. That's just not right and something we believe in. So this was it. This is where they changed the drow and changed it so they didn't have the dark skin color. And so now it goes further. Let's go. We have a Drizzt replacement because, it is 2025. You know what Forgotten Realms really needs more than anything? A strong female lead. Yes, that is how we're going to fix things and get that male gaze away, because we need diversity and inclusivity, and that starts with feminism. That's right. So the character's name is Breezy. Yes, I know. A dark elf named Breezy. Might as well name her like Barbie or something. It's like, this is for girls. And this is ridiculous because, again, this is a boys' adventure action property. That's the entire point about this, and they're just insulting the audience at every turn. I mean, it's crazy. This looks like a romantasy novel, right? The cover does. So the Legend of Drizzt novels, first and foremost, are about ethics. That's what they've always been about. The hero isn't the guy with the biggest sword; it's about the person with the biggest heart. He says. This is Breezy, daughter of Drizzt and cattie-brie. That's why they did Breezy. Now has taken up the mantle to become an adventurer. While it follows the typical tropes of having to deal with big legacy, a change to push a female character at the forefront of Forgotten Realms seems to coincide with Dungeons & Dragons constantly trying to remove any semblance of white male culture and replace it with women and minorities. This all started with Kyle Brink a couple years ago. He went on this podcast right here, and this is what he said about white people. He said, this is not the face of the hobby anymore, he said about himself. And he said, I think there's been many mistakes made in years past where people assume that D&D players wear, well, white dudes in a basement, which has been a faulty assumption for a lot of years and gets more and more false every day. And so in my viewpoint, guys like me can't leave soon enough. So that's what it's all about. Salvatore says it's exploring strange new territory. He says don't get stuck just in areas that have been super developed, he says. When I started Forgotten Realms, it all came out was a gray box set. The beauty of the gray box set was you'd see Longsaddle, and it gave you a very evocative paragraph about it. So not very much information about why this is being done like this. Diversity and Dragons called it out on X. He says last time we saw Drizzt, the Wizards of the Coast visual dictionary, he looked like a suntanned Swede. Now he's apparently been outright replaced by his own father with a run-of-the-mill boss chick. Okay? RPG Pundit also talked about it, so I looked into this. Turns out the main character is Drizzt's daughter, which only makes it worse because Drizzt himself was always an abnormous Mary Sue, and the promotional introduction is horribly written from the voice of the daughter talking about how she is not her father, nor her mother, and how she'll be step out of their shadow. Looks like literary garbage, but most Forgotten Realms novels are. So this is what we can expect. Forgotten Realms is now just completely off the rails and paused. Has been for a while, and as you can see, Salvatore was at the forefront of this entire time and pushing in this woke direction. And this is it. Dungeons & Dragons is completely done. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this, my friends. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Check out my Valiant Frontiers. This is something different than the mainstream industry. You see where they're going with like dark is good. I'm actually posting bright colors, lots of fun, adventure. I'm trying to bring it back to its roots, which is, back where the original Dungeons & Dragons was out. They had their Appendix N with the great classic pulps that had real hero adventurisms and things like that. I hope you'll check it out. It's in the description below. Thanks for being here. We'll be back.